Welcome to the flowerschool.com video library. I'm Leanne Kessler, Director of the Floral Design Institute, here to share with you our latest segment on the holiday wreath. The tradition of wreaths is centuries old. Most are circular, and that represents the unbroken span of eternity, as well as the cycle of life itself. You can find wreaths year-round, but at Christmas, the wreath comes into its glory. Used throughout December, near the time of the winter solstice, the circle symbolizes the certainty, the endless cycle of the seasons, that once again the sun will come back, the days will be longer, and the warmth of summertime will return. To complete the wreath, you just need a few things. I like to start with a base wreath that's already made, rather than making it myself, and then a variety of evergreens and holly and such to enhance, a glue gun to put it all together, maybe a few extra glue sticks, and then the treasures, ribbons and cones and balls to finish it off and make it fabulous, and then to make sure that it lasts as long as possible, a spritzing of crowning glory to seal the moisture in with all those fabulous evergreens. When I choose my base wreath, I look for one that is nice and fresh, and you can tell by just running your hands along. Needles shouldn't fall off, should feel very soft and pliable, not crispy. Then I turn it over and I look to see what it's built upon, which this one has a metal ring. That's what I look for. I prefer the metal over the plastic because it gives you the option. You can leave it round just like it is, or with a little simple squish. Just bend it down and you can have a beautiful oval wreath rather than round. Then after I've got it squished and made my form, I go back and enhance with bits of holly, clipping it down, and a bit of pine. Pine is one of my most favorite evergreens because it's so fragrant. It just makes it smell like Christmas throughout the house. Then taking your glue gun and your boughs, just a tiny bit of glue right on the end, and then insert that into the wreath base. The trick is that you want to look at what direction everything is built as it's winding around, and you follow that same pattern. So as I put it in, I lift and then go the same direction, but let it come up a little more, giving it some fullness, make it so much more fluffy. Just randomly placing it in, adding the holly. Being careful not to burn myself. That glue is hot. Some wreath bases come with cones already on them, but there's never enough. So always go back and add more. So many different types of cones. Just pick your favorites. A little bit of glue right on the base. And then set it right down into the evergreens. You can cluster a few together. Or bring them out and dot them around. It's really choice that you have as to where you want all the cones. Now, one hint when you're working with the glue gun, I mentioned how hot it is. If you accidentally get some on your fingers, immediately set it into a bowl of cold water. It will stop the burning, stop the blistering, so it does quite a bit less damage. If you try to rub it off, it actually gets worse. If you touch it and leave it off, oh my gosh. But if you just immediately put your hand into cold water, it stops that burning. Then you can remove the glue and hopefully save your fingers, not have too much blistering. Then once I have all my cones on, this is when I would go back and spray with the crowning glory so that it locks that moisture in. So the cones are in place. One more maybe right up here. And then just saturate fully. Doesn't hurt the cones, won't hurt any of the foliage. It's fabulous. And it just locks that moisture in so it'll live as long as possible. Up until this point, I've just been working all over the wreath. But now, as I go back and I'm going to create a bow and add ribbon, I have to start thinking, where's my top and where's my bottom? And you can lift it and kind of take a look this way or this way, and just making decisions. For me, I'm going to go this way because there's more cones down there, a little less up here. I think it'll work better. So I'm going to lay it down so I know that's my top. And then with the ribbon, I like to use a wired ribbon. Makes it a little bit easier to do a big Christmas bow. And I start by just making a figure 8. So I have 2 loops, one each direction, a longer tail, then scrunch and twist. That's the trick. When you're making a Christmas bow, if every time you tuck it in your fingers, scrunch, and then twist, that twist will help it stay in place. Scrunch, twist, and just keep repeating that over and over. And I adjust, make some of the loops a little longer, start it a little smaller, and then maybe one more smaller one just to add some luxurious depth to the bow. And cut that off of the bolt. Then I like lots of ribbon. I'm not truly a ribbon person, but at the holidays, more is always better. So I go back and just add extra streamers by tucking it into my fingers, and maybe even one more. And using a 22 gauge wire, just fastening it around the ribbon right underneath my thumb and twisting tightly. Whoops, lost a ribbon there, get it out of the way. And then I can take it and just attach it by wrapping the wire around the wreath, pulling it to the back, and twisting it very, very tight. And then once it's twisted, make sure that you bend those ends back inside to the wreath so there's no risk of scratching the door. Then when you lay it back down, you can fluff it out, make it look balanced. And then those extra streamers, I go through, give it a little twist, just like I did before. Add a tuck of glue, and then bring it and weave it down into the wreath to add a little bit of color all the way around. To finish the ends, I go back and take each one, fold it in half, and then cutting from the inner fold outward, dovetail it so it gives it a more polished end, no blunt cuts. The trick is always finding all the ends that you left, but I figure if you can't find them, no one else will notice either, so just get as many as you can, make sure it's all there. And then I go back with balls. And sometimes they come with wires. I'll just go ahead and clip those off, glue them in. Just maybe a couple smaller, a little more brilliant. Even cluster all of them in my hand ahead of time. And then think about where the color will balance in. Maybe a little more down here. and up towards the top. So I've done 3s so far, but you don't always have to do 3s. It's perfectly fine to go back and just tuck 1. Make it a little more random. And then going back with little pods, smaller cones, more texture, and just filling in any holes that you have until you're thrilled with the finished wreath. The Christmas wreath is one of my favorite traditions. It's the second thing I do every year. First I put the tree up, then I make a wreath and set it out. That way as guests arrive for holiday festivities, they're greeted with just a little touch of the decorations they're going to see when they come inside. One of my favorite parts is that wreaths transcend everyone. Virtually everybody loves a wreath. You can find them on the biggest mansions and on the most humble apartment, or maybe even just hanging on a fence post. The wreath says Merry Christmas to one and all. For more creative inspiration, more Christmas ideas, check out our website at flowerschool.com. If you've got questions, or if you're looking for something, or just need clarification, don't hesitate to contact us. You can reach us through the website or by telephone at 1-800-819-8089. If email is easier, feel free to use my personal email. And as you create your own wreaths, send me a picture. I'd love to see. My email is Leanne, Leanne, at floraldesigninstitute.com. For now, Merry Christmas to you all. Happy decorating, and do something you love.